Hey everybody, it's the ABCs of Bad Movies with Alex and Hefe. We are here today for the letter S.
You got it. You figured it out.
For the letter S.
Yeah.
And it's my movie tonight, my drink tonight. Tonight we are drinking Snakebite.
Snakebites.
It's making its return. This was a beloved drink in the past, in one of our earliest episodes.
It was delicious.
Yeah, and we're bringing it back. Getting the full extravaganza of S's today.
I see. We're watching. What is this?
So tonight we are watching a movie called Surviving the Game, and you will be so surprised at how many famous actors are in this movie, and it's still a bad movie.
Okay. I mean,
I haven't even actually seen the plot. I kind of know it. It's supposed to happen, like the general overview, but not like the actual plot.
I don't think I've ever even heard of this. So
it's going to be a thriller action.
Okay.
Maybe like suspense thriller would be better. And the only hint I gave you today is that is one of the actors in it.
Yeah, Ice-T's in it.
Yeah.
And he's a great actor, especially in 1994. That's what he was known for in 94.
Yeah, so this movie came out in 1994, Surviving the Game. Let me pull up the director.
Okay.
Although it will tell us who the director is here.
Oh, I didn't bring my notebook today. That's fine.
Actually, I already have this on.
I'll figure it out.
All right, so this movie, Surviving the Game, is by Ernest Dickerson.
Lovely. What a great...
1994.
Love his work.
And it's R-rated.
Oh, exciting, tantalizing.
Mm-hmm. And that's all the info I'm going to get before we finish the movie and we do trivia and stuff.
Great.
All right, so let's start it off.
Are we going to drink these? You want to take a sip?
Let's inaugurate.
This one goes out to all my game survivors.
All right.
Oh my god. That guy did not survive the game.
I know we can get some real food trash at. Let's go behind that golden corral.
I just wanted to get to where they hunt Ice-T.
Have you seen this movie?
No. But I know what's going to happen.
Why?
Because it's very obvious.
Maybe he's an FBI detective.
I don't think he is. I think he's a homeless man.
Oh, did he
Does he have a new dog? What is... Just get to him being hunted by people.
You're still a great rapper. What happened to NWA?
That's a different person, isn't it? That's Ice Cube, right?
What?
That...
And I'm still a virgin.
No. Last...
That or a woman took him for everything he had.
What?
I'm gonna stalk this man for Jesus.
Really need him to just get out there in the wilderness and hunt down a bunch of hicks with guns. It's what I really need it. That was a fucking shot of him angrily staring at his stuff like Cheetah. Look at that. They did it twice.
I don't look like the hunter to you. Have you seen Predator? This is weird.
This movie needs to get to him getting chased by hunters. Dude, this is what it needs.
This is why he's in the FBI, man. It's got the slow music.
You gotta stop that.
Ooh, jazzy, edgy saxophone. God, that's so creepy.
Why are no flags going off for this dude?
What
the fuck? What?
That was when I fell off my motorcycle and all my brains fell out.
Gary, you have to read the actual line.
Yeah. The fuck?
And
that was one hell of a story.
And the award for worst dad of all time goes to dude who clearly learned how to raise a sociopath from Nazis. Gary Busey could never pull off a monologue like that ever again.
That was amazing.
Well, Ice-T did a great job in picking the right question. You learned a lot about Gary Busey just from one question. You learned that he's a fucking psychopath.
This kid is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they didn't even tell the kid what was going on. Rutger Hauer just died, for the record, like this week.
Then this was the movie of choice then.
This is unfair. What's the point if you're gonna use fucking motorcycles and four-wheelers?
Yeah, that's no fair. It really isn't.
That was weird.
Whoa.
Oh, they got all their trophies.
Fucking wolf?
Oh, but he likes dogs. He's gonna be friends with the wolf. Have you seen a wolf? Like a picture of a wolf?
I owned a wolf.
No, like a real one.
Yes.
Horrifying.
His name was Simba.
I don't believe you.
I swear. Whoa.
94 for you.
Why do you say damn? Because he doesn't know how to reload it, or? Very confused with why he said damn there.
Very 94 line though.
That's gorgeous.
Perfect place to murder a homeless guy. Or your friend, who you clearly don't give a shit about. All they have to do is turn around and they'll see him. Oh, well, his legs are gone.
What's he doing?
Is that? What the fuck is that?
We were supposed to just kill a homeless guy.
Have fun and jerk off with each other.
And eat him after.
Yeah.
He's chopping down a damn tree. Nice. Well, Ice-T just fell a tree with his shotgun.
Okay. So the kid just died.
Kid's dead.
This is not how I expected it. Oh my god. It's very pretty though.
It's gorgeous.
And just think on that mountain off in the distance, the exact same thing is happening with another group of people.
It's a conservative. Yeah,
it's always happening.
It's conservation.
We have to put down the homeless man. What an idiot.
Yeah. All right. Ice-T is on the left side.
This is how you know it's a good action movie, because you can't see what's going on. And it's suddenly day. Suddenly day.
Like very day.
Like midday.
He survived, man.
For now he's got to get to civilization.
Yeah.
So did he really survive the game? Is that the end? Oh, thank fuck it's not. I thought that was going to be the end of the movie.
Did you make it to Seattle? No.
What the fuck
He's a
is
priest.
this? No way. There's no way it took only 3 days for Ice-T to climb out of the wilderness.
And get to Seattle.
Get to Seattle with no money.
Wow, where he knew where he was going, clearly.
What? You killed everyone else, though.
He's so confused.
Don't just throw it. You can pick it up.
Oh, there's one in the chamber.
It's explosive or something. It's rigged.
Check the barrel.
Yeah. He literally poofed into smoke. He just poofed into smoke. Okay.
Movie over.
Okay. You know what? Okay. Fine. You know, I kind of wish we had watched the shitty Jesus movie.
Why?
Because that would have been... we would have been, screaming at it the whole time. We would have been extremely engaged with that one.
I was very engaged in this one.
This one, well, it took a long time to get there. And then once they got to the woods, I was there. And then once they left the woods, even for the end, I was like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Why?
All in the woods was what was fun.
Okay. Well, that's why it's a bad movie.
You have a Kirk Cameron Jesus movie, that's going to be a non-stop roller coaster.
Of badness. And we're back to the smoking room music. God, it's so loud, though. The music is so loud. It's piercing. This is the end of the movie, and Alex just went to the bathroom, and I'm trying to find a specific scene. Hey, Alex at night. How are you doing? You're doing great. Hey, everybody. It's the ABCs of Bad Movies with Alex and Hefe, and we are back after watching a great bad movie called Survive the Game.
I don't know if it was great.
I'm calling it great. I'm calling it great because it's S.
We watched Surviving the Game tonight, 1994, directed by Ernest Dickerson.
Dickerson, yep. Starring Ice-T.
Rutger Hauer, Gary Busey was in it. The guy who plays Dr. Cox in Scrubs, who I never remember his name. He's in a bunch of stuff.
Dr. Cox. John C. McKinley.
Yeah, John C. McGinley. Dr. Cox.
This was a good bad movie.
I could definitely see...
I'm sorry. Let me take that back. This is a bad, good movie.
That's absolutely fair. And I guess that qualifies for our show.
And after watching it and thinking about some of the questions that Chad has brought up, and it's made me think a little bit without giving things away, I think this does actually qualify for a bad movie and totally falls within our realm of a bad movie podcast.
Yeah, sure. I buy it based on watching it. I mean, they were I complained more about this movie than I have a lot of the bad movies we've watched. for different reasons. The first being just the start of the movie.
That it gave everything away?
Not even that, just the opening, like, 15, 20 to 25 minutes of it were slow and boring and uninteresting.
But is that because in the very first... Well, they cut between them fighting, but basically the first set of scenes, they gave away the entire twist of the movie.
Yeah.
And all you're waiting for is, okay, they kill people, and I'm just waiting for Ice-T to get into that scenario, and then the movie can start.
Absolutely. I think that was a big part of it.
And that totally falls into the bad movie.
Yeah.
It's
Give
bad,
give
very
away
bad
your
storytelling.
Twists. Give away your twists.
Yeah.
That you're only going to reveal in the start of the second act, basically.
Yeah.
And instead you already know what's going to happen.
So, interesting fact, some viewers on Twitch here actually, because our stream was choppy, they watched the entire movie on Amazon and were very close to our hour start. So they actually watched it with us, with our commentary.
That's nice.
That's a first.
That's kind of the point.
I know.
Plot synopses?
Yeah, let's start with plot synopsis. I have a lot of, not necessarily random thoughts, but a lot of anecdotes.
Sure.
So
that's fine with me.
We'll start with plot synopsis. The movie opens up with two parallel paths. One of them is you're clearly on a hunt with a people, and at first you think they're hunting a deer, and then the other one you're following Ice-T, who is playing a homeless man, and he's
like rooting through
he's
like
trying
garbage.
to find garbage. He's trying to find food, and he's with another older homeless man.
And his dog is big.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Too,
It's the dog. Yeah. So Ice-T is with his dog. They're looting for food. While they're looting for food, the dog decides to start going towards the street. We parallel back to the hunt. There's shots fired, and it's actually a man who's bleeding. Mm-hmm. And then he starts running off. So immediately you know that they're hunting a person.
Yeah.
And so in parallel, the dog gets hit by a car, and the man dies. So
you go,
that's the start.
So they're going to hunt a man.
Yep, and they're going to hunt Ice-T because he's clearly the other main character. And so then we follow around Ice-T for a little bit, and he goes with this old man, Hank, and they're looting around for food and in the rain and some garbage bins, and Ice-T knows exactly where to find some meat. Basically, he's going to a big old butcher because he's like hauling like this cow hide.
Yeah, it's some like factory for meat processing, I feel like.
And so he jumps this fence, he goes to get the meat, and on his way back, he befriends a dog, a Doberman.
I think it was a guard dog that was just distracted by the meat.
Yeah, and while he's coming back,
his buddy Hank is yelling at him, saying,
he's like,
"Hey, like, oh look, you got meat!" And then some guard comes up and starts beating the
cop.
shit out of the old man. I don't think it's a cop because the cop doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a gun.
That's true.
Because eventually,
he's with a partner in a car.
No, I think you're wrong about that entirely. I think the guy in the car is the dude that we meet later. Who recruits him to get the job, and he's just scouting out for some homeless dude to trick into going on this human hunt.
You may be right.
And so the security guard starts
beating
up
Hank,
the old man. Ice-T hops over, is fighting him, pulls out the gun that he found in the trash that's not loaded. I guess it's important. Hank says, always check the barrel first, because if there's anything in there and you try to fire, then the gun will explode.
Explodes in your hand, yeah.
And it'll turn you into a poof of smoke. He doesn't say that, but...
It's implied.
It's definitely implied. And the gun gets knocked out. The cop, the security guard is like, oh, you're going to shoot me? Well, I'm going to murder someone tonight. And he starts like laughing and then pulls a trigger and there's no bullets. Ice-T beats him up, pulls his baton away from him.
It starts basically harassing him.
Threatens to beat the shit out of him, and then the security guard runs away and says, "You're crazy," which is a weird thing to yell after you were about to be smiling while shooting a man point blank in the face.
Yeah.
So, and there's a shot of someone watching this all happen, not doing anything.
From a car, yeah. I assumed was a cop, was his partner, but it very much could have been. Or it could not have been. At this point, it probably was the guy who was recruiting.
It had to have been.
So, then we follow them.
They're in a homeless camp, and Hank is like, I'm
They're
going to make
cooking
sure
the
you
meat.
get back on your feet.
Yeah, and they're cooking the meat that
Yeah.
they found. He says, I'm going to help you get back on your feet. And he's like, no, like, screw you. Nobody else is going to help me. Like, at some point, I think then he says, like, I killed my wife and daughter. I got nothing to live for. Something like that.
Something, like my family's dead. There's no point in me being alive. Something like that.
And then basically, they fall asleep. Next day, Ice-T wakes up.
Hank's dead.
Yep, Hank's dead. He's like, dang it. So he buries him.
Hank next to the dog.
Yep. And then there's a line for
Like a
mission.
soup kitchen
Yeah,
thingy.
they're giving out bagged lunches. And Ice-T just walks right by it, doesn't even get lunch. And one of the staff guys goes like, hey, man, don't
Runs
you...
after him. And I'd like to say, like, I don't want to sound like shitty, because I was really bored during the time, and I was kind of confused, but the second he started following that dude, I was like, oh, that's the guy who was watching him beat up the security guard last night. He's going to recruit him for the thing.
Yeah,
Like, I knew where this movie was going immediately.
yeah.
Like, even when we were watching it, I immediately was like, oh, surviving the game. Like,
We
the
knew
most
he was
dangerous
gonna be-
game, they're going to be hunting people, which was even more obvious from the
What if
opening
it was
credits.
surviving the game, or if you think about the game, you lose?
Oh, fuck.
And you just explode?
It's a funny internet meme from 2006.
Yeah.
That meme is literally like over a decade old.
Yeah.
That's how old that one is.
So they chase after him, and he's like, "I just want to help you, and
I just want to help you.
here's a job. I will give
No.
you a
This
job."
is important too. He goes, "Don't you have any family?"
Yeah.
And he's
Oh
like,
yeah.
"No, my wife and kid are dead." It's like, there's got to be someone that cares about you. And he's like, "No one cares about me." It's like, okay, here's a job.
Yeah. I got something perfect for you. What's wrong with the obvious? That it's bad storytelling.
It's not. I don't know if it was. Well, okay. So, you see the title "Surviving the Game," right? I start to think initially of The Most Dangerous Game. Then they show a shot where the hunters are literally killing a person.
I was thinking war.
Oh, okay. I was sort of leaning that way anyway because I
Some
thought it was
physical
I thought
conflict.
it was a different movie that was basically the same idea where it's like people lost in the wilderness might have to kill each other to survive. But the second you show in minute 1 of 3 hunters shooting at a person running away who looks homeless,
Yep.
it's like, oh, they're killing people and Ice-T's next. Like that, it was too obvious. And the problem of it being that obvious is they spent 25 minutes getting back there. If they had the opening scene where it's homeless guy is clearly getting murdered by hunters, and then you take 5 minutes to establish Ice-T, and it's like, oh, I'm homeless, I need a job. Oh, here's a job, I'll take it. And then they're on a plane, fine. Like, I'll buy it. That's fine. Because then you get more time of them doing the hunting thing. That's what you're there for. If you already know what's happening, that's why you're there.
So basically, the mission man offers him a hunting job.
A guide.
Yeah, a guide. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll take it. The man gives him $20, and
If
Ice-T
he
goes
runs
to a
on
hotel.
a treadmill for 30
No,
minutes.
then
Yeah.
correct.
That was like the job offer.
Yeah, so then I think it's like the next day or something. Time lapse. And then Ice-T goes to the place and meets some white dude. Rutger, whatever his name is.
Rutger Hauer.
And they have a discussion. And Rutger Hauer doesn't like that Ice-T was a
Smokes
smoker.
Because...
He wants endurance. He wants the endurance runner.
And it's fair at that point to assume, like, oh, you're going to be a guide in the wilderness. You should have good endurance.
You should be fit.
And it's also fair, oh, I'm going to try to hunt you and I want to have as much fun and I want my dick to be as engorged as possible during. So I need you to be able to run.
Yeah.
So either way, it makes sense, but we all know what's going to happen. If we hadn't seen that scene where the person gets shot in the opening credits, then it seems reasonable the one way rather than the
Perfectly
other.
logical. So they have the conversation, and he's like, all right, run on a treadmill for half an hour, and I'll give you $20. And he goes, Ice-T is like, shit, well, I'll run to Alaska for $20. And so he runs 30 minutes later. He gets $20. Ice-T then goes to a motel. But before he goes to the motel, they have a conversation that's, Rutger and Ice-T have a conversation that's like, well, how will I find you? And he's like, I'll be at this hotel.
Best
and he
hotel in town.
And he throws
He really coolly
card at
casually
him.
throws a business card for the hotel at him. Perfectly thrown.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, Ice-T's at that hotel, and he's got $20, and he's like, you give me the best room with a TV, son.
No, but we realized that it wasn't $20. It was less than that because he's got 40. He's got a pack of cigarettes and he's got some food.
Yeah.
And then he's in the tub. He cuts off some of his
dreads and shaves
and pubes.
And he shaves some of his beard, but he leaves his
handlebar. He's got a handlebar mustache, and then Rutger Hauer wakes him up in the morning, throws him some clothes, and says, "Put these on; they'll fit you. Let's go." And Ice-T questions it.
He's like, "How the hell do you know my size?"
And that's it. And then they're on a plane with a pig. They go up into Oregon, I believe.
Yep.
He's
like, "Where are we now?"
Yeah.
He's like, "We're in Oregon."
Oregon, and he goes, "Nice, T."
Yeah.
They land. They kill the pig. They're eating. There's 6 guys. There's Ice-T. There is Rutger Hauer. There's Mission Guy.
Gary Busey.
There's Gary Busey. There's
Wall Street.
And
Wall Street Jr.
son, who's never hunted a human before, and it's very clear immediately that he's never hunted a human before, and that he doesn't know he's about to hunt a human. And then there's what's his name? Dr. Cox. What's his name again?
John McKinley.
Johnny Boy.
John C. John Cox.
John Cox McGinley's there too. And
so they're eating
dinner,
and it's an awkward dinner.
It's a very weird dinner where they're all asking him all kinds of questions. They're asking Ice-T all kinds of questions. He mentions to Dr. Cox that he killed his wife and daughter, and Dr. Cox gets very upset and is removed from the cabin. And then they said, he just recently lost his daughter a couple months ago. And then Gary Busey is asking some more questions to Ice-T, and Ice-T says, well, you seem to know a lot about me. I don't know anything about you. And Gary Busey goes, all right, ask me some questions. And Ice-T nails it in one question. He says, where'd you get that scar? And Gary Busey goes on one of the greatest monologues
it was amazing.
I've ever seen. Like,
it
we
really
were
was
dead
so
silent
good.
the whole time because we were so enthralled by it. It was so interesting. It was just a development of why he's a psychopath.
Yep.
And everyone in the audience is like, he's going to kill you. And Ice-T's like, all right, you're kind of an odd guy.
You're a fucking weird man.
But I appreciate you.
But thanks for this $450 glass alcohol and this freshly killed pig.
And then Gary Busey's like, you have to look in its eyes while you eat it so that you suck out its soul. And it really, like, at any of these points, you could be sitting there, and, like, if you were in Ice-T's situation, you could be sitting there and being like, these guys are fucking weird.
Yep.
And like, I don't think I should be here at all. And Ice-T's like, fuck it, I got some cigarettes, I got $450 wine, I'm gonna chill. I think I'm gonna have a good time.
I just gorged myself on amazing food.
And
this guy keeps staring at me.
Yeah. And then he
goes
fall
asleep.
to bed, and it opens up with the mission guy with the gun to Ice-T's head, and I thought it was just like a red herring where they were gonna just torture him psychologically without him knowing just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then eventually get him, like, where they're out in the woods and it's like, oh, by the way, we're hunting you.
Yeah.
No, they're starting in the cabin.
Yeah.
They're like, we're hunting you now. So
fucking go.
So put on these clothes and go. And so then he goes.
Yep, and he goes and he just starts running, and then
everyone else
people just have
food.
breakfast.
The kid, Wall Street Jr. is
clearly disturbed.
Yeah, he's like, we're not hunting a person, are we? And Dad goes in the most as Wall Street investor as you can be, like, he's not a person. He's a
He's
poor
trash.
black.
He is trash.
He's not like rich black inside. He's poor black.
Yeah.
So we gotta shoot him in the wilderness. Because it'll make you a better man.
This is the real world, Wall Street Jr.
And in the real world, we shoot homeless people to death, torture them. That's what we do.
In Oregon wilderness. Ice-T runs away. They have breakfast. And then they're all super excited to get on the hunt. Then they decide to get on the hunt.
And they get on like bikes and ATVs, and
Yeah.
it's super disappointing because you're like, oh, I thought this was gonna be like a straight like.
It's a real
If
hunt.
you're gonna so here's some advice for people who hunt humans. If you're gonna hunt a person, like actually make it a challenge and like follow them on foot. Like use more primitive weapons.
Not
Where
just
it-
humans.
where it
Literally any
requires you-
animal.
if you're
Literally
more-
any animal. If
you're
you're going to
more
go
on the
hunt.
same level, if you're able to successfully hunt them, if you're doing it for a psychological boner, doesn't it make the boner better if like you're doing it through actual skill and intelligence rather than you're just overpowering them with technology, right?
And I would disagree that, or I would also state that, not disagree, for just any, if you are ever going hunting, don't use your four-wheeler. Don't use your bike. Get out there. Get in the real wilderness. Go legit hunting. Don't take your four-wheeler through 4 miles of woods. Go hike it.
Yeah.
With-
Basically,
with-
we're saying we're
with
morally
ridiculous-
superior to Rutger Hauer, who can't defend himself
And
anymore
Gary Busey.
because he's dead. And Gary Busey can't because his brain isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So, fuck you, Rutger Hauer, you piece of shit.
So, all right.
Hunting Ice-T?
So they're all excited about hunting him. Ice-T is like scared off, so he's running away. And then they go and chase after him on their four-wheelers and motorbikes.
Mhm.
And Dr. Cox says he sees something, but he's actually kind of cray-cray. And they run after nothing.
They chase
And
like
then-
a deer.
Yeah. And then Ice-T kind of gets smart and doubles back
Mm-hmm.
to the cabin, where he gets to the cabin first and unlocks this door using a stone because they locked everything. And he opens this door and it's their
He
trophy
does
case.
go, they show it when he first gets there too, when he's getting the beer for them, that there is one door that is padlocked. And when he went in, I was like, oh, they locked everything, that's smart. But they might not have actually done that. They might have just left
had
it because
that-
they didn't. Because they also mentioned it's the first time anyone's ever doubled back,
Yeah.
which for some reason they know that he has. I don't know why they think that,
That's
but they know
a
it.
big plot hole is one that
Yeah.
they just have this intuition that he's doubled back.
Yeah, one of them has the intuition that he's double back, and they all are immediately like, "Let's go back."
Yeah.
So he breaks open that padlock door, and it's full of trophies. And the
The
trophies
heads of
are,
everyone they've ever
if
killed.
you've
in
ever
formaldehyde.
watched Futurama, the famous people are heads in jars. But imagine that, but the heads are dead. Is what it is. It's
Very-
a room full of. They even have like the names under them.
Yep.
It's like
It's
Futurama.
literally a trophy.
Futurama might have ripped off Surviving the Game.
Oh my god.
They might have actually done it because it's a little golden plaque with a name on it,
Mhm.
and it's a head in a jar, which is certainly an interesting discussion to have, like how disgusting it is of these people because like they clearly learned who these people were before they killed them,
Yeah.
which just shows you how crazy they
And
are.
they killed
It's
a
like,
lot of people.
no matter like they clearly know these people's like first and last names and their stories and like why they are where they are, and they're still like, let's murder the fuck out of this guy. So
And one of them, takes the time to chop the head off, fill a bucket with
it's a trophy.
formaldehyde, and seal it, and plaque it, and store it.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna make the trophy, like you might as well. It must have been Gary Busey.
Yeah.
It had to have been Gary Busey.
So he unlocks that door and he sees it, and then finds gasoline. Is like, fuck this shit, and douses the place in gasoline. But as he's done dousing the place, then the rest of the
All the
hunters
ATVs
arrive.
roll up.
And he's like, shit.
It's time.
And so then he kind of waits for them to come in, and then he lights everything on fire. But as he's doing that, Gary Busey gets to him.
Mm-hmm.
And hand-to-hand combat, one-on-one fight.
Gary
And-
Busey has a knife.
Yeah,
and he
he's
drops
like,
a knife and he says, "I'm gonna beat you to death with my fists."
Yep. Super confident. And Ice-T basically beats the crap out
throws
of
him through a window
throws him through the window
into the house
burning
that's on
cabin.
fire.
Gary Busey dies.
The house like explodes because the formaldehyde heads explode.
Which we need to look up.
Does formaldehyde explode?
Yeah. But keep going.
During that time, the Wall Street dad had rushed in. Most of them had rushed in, and then some of them smelled the gasoline way too late. Like, I'm sure everyone here smelled gasoline. I don't know why they didn't realize the house was soaking in gas until they're already all in, and some of them run out before the building lights on fire. So Wall Street Jr. saves Wall Street Sr., gets him out of the house. House explodes. Because how is Ice-T so capable? He's a mechanic.
Well, we also see him fight earlier. He fights that cop, and clearly gets the best of the security guard.
He also just takes a straight hook from the taxi driver right in the beginning.
True.
And he doesn't get cut. He doesn't flinch. He just sort of takes it and looks at the taxi driver.
He's
It's
like, "You got any
what are
more
you
of
going to
that?"
do now?
Yeah.
So he's clearly tough as nails. You know? So Gary Busey dead.
Yep. And then Ice-T then runs away. And
This is when it starts getting a little fuzzy for me.
yeah, everyone
'Cause at
basically
this point,
everyone basically kind of regroups, but the dad, Wall Street Senior, is trapped, and then Wall Street Junior goes and collects him from the burning building. And then at this point, everybody kind of regroups, and they're like, "Okay, he's clearly dead,
they chase
and
him
he's
down
far
again.
away." But the young one, Wall Street Junior, saw where he ran.
Yes.
So then they go chase him, and while they're chasing him, Ice-T is kind of smart. He runs,
Uses the cigarettes.
and he is about to take a smoke, and he's like, "Wait, I could use this as a trap." So he does, and he places them in.
in the bark of a tree,
Yep.
so that they see the smoke and they're like, "Oh, he's smoking," which is the dumbest thing to assume
Yep.
when you're trying
Chased.
to kill someone to death. Is like,
Kill someone to death.
I said it on purpose.
Okay.
So yeah, so they follow it, and then the mission guy's like, "I told you he was smart,"
Yeah.
and he's like so happy. Totally forgot that his friend is dead.
Because he doesn't care. But then Dr. Cox goes his own separate way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's nighttime. And then there's like clearly this mine entrance or cave entrance
It's a mine
with
entrance.
with a
There's
light.
track, yeah.
With a light. And they know that he's in there or something. And then it kind of cuts to Ice-T and Dr. Cox in the mine, and Ice-T somehow has Dr. Cox.
We don't see how he does
Kidnapped?
it, but
No.
I guess it's acceptable considering that we've known that he can fight like hand to hand well.
Yeah.
So I guess they consider it okay.
Also,
But he's
side note,
bound?
right before it's nighttime, we see Dr. Cox center frame, and he is wheezing because he has asthma and he has this inhaler, and he is very dependent on this inhaler.
I was like, oh, they're gonna use this, right?
I even wrote it down. I said, inhaler, question mark, underlined.
So they're gonna use this. That's how he's gonna die, is because he needs the inhaler and he won't have it, and he's gonna die. And then they showed him center frame. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so he's definitely gonna die like that, and it's never brought up again.
Yeah.
It's not important to the plot at all.
So then Ice-T kind of tells the story of how he did not kill his wife and daughter.
Yeah,
And
he was like the super for a condemned building because they were poor, so it was better than sleeping out on the street. And then the building caught fire because the electrical was shit because it was a condemned building, and he blames himself for their deaths, even though literally nothing he could have done about it.
Well, in the movie, he says he put it off.
Yeah, but like even that, like how do you fix the electrical for a whole building
And just do it.
when you're just like a homeless person?
Well, he wasn't at that point.
And he clearly doesn't have the money to buy the material to fix it, you know?
True, that is true.
Like there's nothing, like realistically there's nothing he could have done to fix that.
Yeah.
So, and then like Dr. Cox like forgives him basically.
Yeah.
And
He's like, "You said you killed him, though," and he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't really. So then it's daytime, and all the hunters then go into the mine, but Ice-T is long gone. And they find Dr. Cox, and
They pull him out. And he's like, I'm done. He let me live. He didn't kill his kid or his wife. Like, I'm done with this. I can't kill this guy. He's finally realized that he's a human being. And that's not just like me talking. It's not just he realized that Ice-T's a human being. Like, he realized that he's also a human being. Yeah. He's like, I cannot do this anymore. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to go home.
And they're like, bitch, no, you're not.
No, we'll shoot you right now. And he turns around and he's like, what? And they're like, yeah. And they shoot him in the head.
Just like square in
and
the
it was the worst death in the movie because it's basically just a piece of makeup. There's no blood. It's just like makeup that's supposed to look like a little crater in his skull, and he drops, and that's it. And it was awful looking. It looked like shit. And then the Wolf of Wall Street Jr. yells in the most masculine way possible.
No, Dad! Dad! No, Dad!
They murdered the man! God, what happened next? Like that was it. Like, there's no repercussions for it.
Yeah, then they go and they chase Ice-T to a river where they see a boot mark right before the river. And they're like, oh, he thinks he won't...
Mission guy is like, oh, we got him.
Yeah.
He thinks we won't walk through a river. We're gonna walk through a river.
Well, let's get wet, boys. And so they're walking through the window, through the river, and Ice-T's hiding in this big ass log, hollowed out log.
Yep.
And then Ice-T gets out, and then all of a sudden, once again, Deus Machina, gut feeling.
No. First Ice-T rigs one of the 4-wheelers. He takes a live wire. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
This isn't then. This isn't yet. You're jumping the gun just a little bit. Ice-T gets out of the log and then starts walking back. And then Deus Ex Machina.
Mm-hmm.
Gut feeling reaction that, oh, I think we're getting played. Then he does that. Then Ice-T runs back to the 4-wheeler.
Now you're just splitting hairs. What happens is, you know what? I'll play this game simultaneously.
Sure.
One of them is Ice-T is taking a live wire and sticking it in a gas canister in a 4-wheeler, and Mission Guy is like, oh, I got a bad feeling about this. He's probably doubled back on us.
Again.
Let's go back. And then Ice-T steals one of the not rigged 4-wheelers driving away. His tire gets shot. He flies over a log, gets hurt a little bit. Mission Guy hops on his 4-wheeler, turns the ignition, does not notice that his gas cap is open and that there's a wire in it. Turns it on, explodes. We thought he was done, but it just blew his legs off. He's clearly in shock. He's talking about bringing their daughters back next year.
Yeah.
And then Rutger Hauer goes, "Gotta put you to sleep." And he pulls out 2 finger guns. And we're like, okay,
what the hell
so
are you
that's
doing?
symbolism for I'm going to shoot you in the head to mercy kill you. But instead he sort of jabs his fingers into his neck. And I could have sworn I heard the Mission Guy start to snore. It could have, yeah. But then there's that. There's the choking noise. But then there was definitely a snoring noise. And I was like, did he just knock him out to stop him from going through shock or something? No, that killed him.
I think what he did is he crushed his windpipe.
I mean,
that's the only thing I could think of if you're doing this.
I was thinking maybe he's cutting off the flow from the arteries somehow. It didn't make any sense.
No. I've never ever
just shoot him. Just shoot him with a bullet.
Yeah, he's dead.
Shoot him. Just shoot him in the head.
I'm gonna take your pulse to death.
I'm gonna take my time slowly killing you, instead of just like that. You're done. You're dead. And you're already in shock, so it doesn't matter. And then so now we're down to Rutger Hauer, Wall Street Senior, and Wall Street Junior. Wall Street Junior is losing his shit. He's like, I'm done with this.
He's I just wanted to fucking hunt a damn turkey.
So many people have died, and you're still trying to just murder an innocent man. Why are we doing this? And they're like, you gotta shut the fuck up and murder this innocent man with us. Because we've lost
Bastard.
too many friends who are also extremely crazy. So then Ice-T shoots a tree down.
Well, he grabs his shotgun from the downed ATV. Spaz. Pretty sure it's a Spaz.
Yes,
And
it's a
he's
riot.
running, and
It's a riot
he
shot.
reaches a cliff. He reaches this cliff, and he's like, well, I can get across if I shoot this tree down. So he shoots the tree down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually a trap. So
So
everybody
he
else
doubled back, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So everybody else catches up, and they see the tree, and they're like, we got to get across this tree.
It's the first time Rutger Hauer's sense of doubling back doesn't kick in. He's like,
Yeah.
we got to get across this fucking tree.
Because it's never been him. It's always been Mission Man.
No, the first time when it was doubling back to the cabin, it was Rutger Hauer.
So he's like all the way across this tree, and so they're like halfway across this log, the
Yeah.
tree, the felled tree. And
Wall
then
Street Jr.'s like halfway across the tree.
Yeah, and then what does Ice-T do?
Ice-T starts throwing stones at him. Like, he's just throwing these rocks. I don't know where he's getting these rocks, though. But he's throwing It's ridiculous.
He who cast the first stone, be not one who has sinned. So Ice-T
Yeah,
is
very biblical, for
Yeah.
sure.
So Ice-T is throwing rocks at him.
Hits Wall Street Jr. Wall Street Jr. starts dangling off, and he starts...
Dad! Dad, I'm falling! Dad!
Yeah. That's how he screams. And then we realized, also in that scene, where he got... Or maybe a scene later, where he got that scream from. Because Wall Street Dad screams the exact same way.
Yeah.
He goes super high-pitched. Wall Street Dad is crawling across the log. He's like, I'm gonna get you!
Yeah.
I'll save you! And then Wall Street Jr. falls, dies. Ice-T runs away. And then Wall Street Senior's like, I'm gonna kill him! I'm gonna kidnap him!
Yeah, and Rutger is like, yeah. All right, Wall Street Senior. We're going to kill the man that killed your son. And he's like, he's mine. He says he's mine.
It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, though.
But like no remorse for son, just like
Oh,
he's
yeah,
mine.
he doesn't give a shit.
He's mine.
He kind of gives a shit.
He does
Because
now.
the next scene, he's like, we're gonna kill this homeless guy who somehow killed 4
Of our-
expert hunters,
Yeah.
and he's got no experience hunting, but we're gonna kill him, and then I'm gonna let you know right now. Once we kill him,
I'm going to kill you.
he doesn't say that explicitly,
This
but
is
it's
I'm gonna
very
get
much implied. He's like, I'm gonna get even with you, and Rutger Hauer is like, okay, so I'm not gonna try to save you if you are in trouble. Is basically what my game is.
So then they're hunting him. They're hunting Ice-T through the night. And then it's nighttime, and Rutger and Wall Street Senior, they take their own separate positions. They're like, all right, we're going to do this for real. Rutger Howard gives him gives Wall Street Senior a pep talk. Like, dude, you're a hunter. Like, let's use the night. Let's set a trap for him. We'll use sound. We'll hunt him out. He wants to come to us. So it's nighttime, and Wall Street Senior is in the middle of this kind of meadow area, and he's getting super freaked out. And then Ice-T basically is like running around, like making noises, and makes Wall Street Senior waste all of the ammo in his pistol, and then Ice-T pretty much just attacks him, and they have this fight in the middle of the night. It's really dark and hard to see, and Rutger is watching from his own perch, and he's like, I'm not going to help him. And then Ice-T kills Wall Street Senior in hand-to-hand combat. Boom. Wall Street Senior, dead. And then Rutger decides, he sees this, and then kind of sneaks away on his own motorbike, and like just hauls ass. And meanwhile, Ice-T is like, you're not getting away. And Ice-T takes the Wall Street Seniors.
I'm taking this.
Sure, Wall Street Seniors. You can drink it, that's okay. He takes Wall Street Seniors ATV and just starts hauling ass like, you're not getting away, you little bitch. And then they meet at the airfield, and a white plane is running, it has its motors on, and Ice-T is like, you're not getting away. So he goes up to the airplane, and there's nobody in the airplane because Rutger set a trap. And Ice-T realizes the trap simultaneously as Rutger is shooting the fuselage of the airplane to try to get it to explode. So then the plane explodes, and Rutger assumes Ice-T is dead.
And flies
Rutger
away.
then gets in a yellow plane and flies away to Seattle. And then,
we see Ice-T get up out of the rubble.
yep, Ice-T is alive.
Which was also a bad choice. Which we can talk about,
After.
yeah.
So then it cuts to Seattle 3 days later, and we see Rutger in a priest getup doing makeup. He has all these other uniforms and passports and alternate identities. And then Wall Street Senior's wife leaves a message to the outfitters
Yeah.
saying, like, I haven't heard back from from the
My
hunt.
husband and my son have been gone for so long.
And then
They say
Rutger-
they normally murder a man in 1 day, and it's been 4 days.
Then Rutger goes to a truck, and the truck doesn't start, so he's like, dang it. And then he starts walking down this back alley, gets surprised by this old homeless lady, and then keeps walking.
And then
but he has
kisses
he
her
has
on
his,
the forehead.
but he has his AUG in a case, his machine gun in a case.
We're just gonna brush over the fact that he's role playing a priest and then just kisses a woman in an alleyway unprompted and
On the
unasked
forehead,
for.
yeah.
Any sort of physical contact is inappropriate in an alleyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then basically Rutger and Ice-T ambushes him kind of, and they get in a fight, and Ice-T beats the crap out of him eventually, and takes the AUG and holds Rutger at point blank, and he's like,
the magazine out,
and he's like, fuck you.
pulls the barrel back to pop the
No,
round out.
no, wait. He's holding him at point blank,
Oh, okay.
and Rutger is like, fine, just kill me now. I'm ready. Kill me. Do it. And Ice-T's like, fuck you, no. And then he does that. What does he do?
Takes the magazine out, pulls the barrel back to empty the round, tosses the gun, says, I'm leaving. And then Rutger Hauer goes, You fool!
He picks
You've
up.
given me a gun and a round. I can
Yep.
shoot you with it. Puts the round in the barrel. And then Ice-T says, first thing you should do with the gun is check the barrel.
Call back to the beginning of the movie.
The very beginning of the movie where Hank says always check the barrel, because if you pull the trigger and there's something in the barrel, it's going to explode the barrel in your face. So Rutger Hauer pulls the trigger and
Disappears in a cloud of smoke.
Into a poof of smoke, yeah. And that's how the movie ends.
Done.
And that was surviving the game.
And now, plot synopsis is over. The plot synopsis is over now. Now it's time for trivia.
Here we go.
It's time for trivia. So I will take care of the trivia here, but first question: are you ready?
Is it a drinking game? Or is that what we're doing?
Sure.
Ready.
Is formaldehyde flammable?
No.
It is flammable.
Oh, shit.
And I will read you this excerpt. Pure formaldehyde, a gas, is not handled commercially because it tends to polymerize exothermically and may ignite. Vapor from formalin solution, which is the mix that they presumably would have used, is flammable and an explosion hazard when exposed to flame or heat.
Okay.
It is also a skin and eye irritant and a confirmed carcinogen, so wear gloves and the proper PPE, personal protection equipment, when handling formaldehyde.
That's great to know. We don't even know if they used formaldehyde in those jars. That was just an assumption I made.
Yeah, I know.
But that's a fun fact.
It is a fun fact, and now you know. All right, so let's see if we can find we can play our classic budget game.
Oh, do you know the budget?
Yes, I do, and I also know the gross box office.
It went to theaters? Of course it did.
Yes, it did.
Of course it did. It had Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, so, okay. Go ahead and take your guess. If you're watching, go ahead and take your guess at the budget for the movie.
Budget 1994. You had to have Rutger Hauer money and Ice-T money.
Gary Busey money.
Gary Busey money, potentially before the accident, which we're not sure yet. I think we're going to check.
I think it was before. I think it's safe to say.
Well, we're probably going to check anyway. But I think that the budget was $25 million.
We got 4.2 in the chat, and the real answer is, are you ready? $7.4 million budget.
I gave way too much faith.
Yes, you did. 7.4 million. All right, now we're on to the gross sales, I guess.
Domestic box office? Global box office? What do we
I
doing?
have domestic right now. It's
that's
gross
fine.
domestic. I think it was only domestic.
That's fine.
So domestic box office and total amount that the movie made.
Does that include VHS sales?
It just says gross.
I'm going to just say $5 million.
5 million? Chat? We'll wait about 10 seconds. 2.5 million. Are you ready? The gross was $7.7 million.
Wow.
This movie made a total of $327,000.
Profit. That's making money.
They made money on this movie.
They made money. That might be a bad movie's...
First.
Hang on. Let's take that one again.
That may be... What?
No. Say that... you know what? Whatever. That might be the first time on the show that we found a movie that made money. Thanks for elbowing the microphone, Jeff. That's cool.
Sorry.
That's good.
I'm practicing my iced tea technique.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're doing a fantastic job. Love that.
Okay, are you ready for some actual really quality trivia here?
I love quality trivia. I live for it.
And so
That's like what makes our show so great.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11 trivia
Great.
items here. Okay, so question number 1.
Question 1.
Were there sets or green screens or stages, or was everything filmed?
Like on location?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great question, and I'm gonna get it wrong because when we were first looking at like the city, like the homeless scenes, I was like, that's fake, that's a set. But then in the wilderness, I was like, oh, that kind of looks real. So I'm gonna say mix of both.
Mix of both. The answer is the entire movie was shot in real locations.
Oh, fantastic.
The entire movie, which I actually kind of appreciate, though.
It made me terrified.
I appreciate that everything was shot real. Like, at least the set was very real.
It wasn't
not a set. At least the
They might have had rain
thing
machines
was really real. Yeah.
on location. It just
Okay.
takes like a crane.
I know you won't be able to.
Don't doubt
I
me.
will give you to. I'll let you try. There was a similar movie that came out within a year. Can you possibly name that movie? It had the same plot about homeless people being hunted for sport. It's on the same sort of wavelength of the title.
It might be the movie that I was thinking it was initially.
Which is?
You have to make me think of it. Not you. You don't have to make me think.
Can I give you the first word?
Sure.
Hard.
Ticket to Hawaii. No. Hard. I don't know. The movie I'm thinking of, I think, has the word edge in it. So, if it's not that, then it's not that, and I won't be able to get it.
The movie is titled Hard Target.
What?
Hard Target. Yep.
Never heard of it.
It says this movie was released less than a year after Hard Target with a similar plot about homeless people being hunted for sport.
Is this like the Asylum Pictures version of like a normal movie that we watched?
I guess. Okay, here's a piece of trivia. So the motorcycles that they were riding, Rutger Hauer's had an idea about these motorcycles.
Oh God, I'm sure he did.
Name the brand of motorcycle that Rutger Hauer wanted to use.
Yamaha,
I'll give you another guess.
Honda. I don't fucking know motorcycle brands.
It was Rutger Hauer's idea that Burns, his character, rides a Kawasaki twin-cylinder 650 motorcycle.
Okay, is this when you tell me that Rutger Hauer had an interest in like dirt bikes?
Hauer owned one of these bikes himself and felt that by riding one in the movie, his character would stand out as a leader of the hunting pack. He also claimed that the bike had the appearance of an iron horse, giving Burns the look of a warrior knight. Hey, chat said it. Kawasaki, good job.
That sounds like Rutger Hauer just wanted to ride
His
a
own
bike
bike?
that was his own bike but wasn't his, so that he could fuck it up if he wanted.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Great. That was a great piece of trivia. I love that one. I got so angry I looked right at the camera. That was a good one.
Is the cabin that they stayed in, does the cabin still exist or not?
Well, they clearly burned it down, but yes, it does still exist. Yes.
The landing strip and cabin seen in the movie are at Lake Wenatchee State Airport, which
So they
is
still
very
exist.
close to civilization.
So they still exist.
The cabin has since been torn down and replaced with larger buildings a few yards to the southeast.
Oh, it's good that they specified what to the southeast. Yeah.
Chat is winning and you still have to drink. You have yet to get one right.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. So where Mason lived in that camper with Hank,
Yeah, in the camper. Yeah.
that area is now
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
has now been developed into a bank. Name
That's bullshit. But go on.
the bank that now occupies that space. There was already a hint in the name.
Read the whole thing again, then.
Name the bank.
Read the whole thing.
No.
Okay, that's
Mason
not fair.
lives in an old camper.
Uh-huh.
That space is now it's built.
Read
It's already
what it
built.
says.
No, because that gives away the answer. I'm trying to develop it into a trivia question. So his area where he lived in with the camper is now a bank. Name the bank.
Bank of America.
Yes!
Is that right?
Yes.
That was going to be my first guess anyway.
The derelict land where Mason lived in the old camper van is now a Bank of America parking lot.
Great. Love that. Now that's real trivia. That's true trivia. That's the epitome of trivia, right? Like trivial knowledge.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of trivia here. In this next one,
Great. Let's split it up into a series
almost all of the city scenes were filmed in downtown where?
L.A.,
And state.
California.
I'll give you one more guess. It's not there.
Oh, Washington. New Mexico.
In downtown, you got half of it right.
What?
You
Which
got-
half did I get right?
I don't want to tell you.
Well, it can't be L.A. then, so it's either Washington or New Mexico.
Yes.
I just feel like it's Albuquerque. I really just feel like it's Albuquerque.
Okay.
Is
the
it
answer
Seattle?
no.
Is it Seattle?
It is not Seattle, but that is the state.
Spokane.
You're not gonna guess it. But you
Mount
did get half
Rainier.
right. You did get half right, which is good.
Mount Rainier.
No.
Vancouver.
No. It's Washington.
Portland.
Almost all this. All right, this is a long piece of
What's
trivia.
the city?
Wenatchee.
Oh, that was going to be my next guess, you son of a
It
bitch.
was on the tip of my tongue. Almost all the city scenes were filmed in downtown Wenatchee, Washington. Most scenes were filmed within a 2-block perimeter of Mission, Orondo. So they even have the street names of Mission, Orondo, Palusi, and Columbia Streets, plus the alley behind the Liberty Theater off of Mission Street. The area includes the infamous Bruce Hotel, which became Bruce Transitional Housing for the homeless in the early 2000s.
That's where he went to sleep.
That's where he went to sleep, or it's probably that back alley where he killed him in the final bit.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Probably both.
Okay, despite the ending of the movie taking place in Seattle, for some reason, production filmed and used an established shot of blank from the vantage point of South Street Bridge.
Wenatchee.
No.
Los Angeles.
No.
I don't know what South Street Bridge is.
Opposite of the country.
Albuquerque.
Opposite of the country.
Boston.
Too far.
Oh. Chicago.
Not far enough.
St. Louis?
Still not far enough.
Nashville.
Keep going.
Pittsburgh.
Really close.
Philadelphia.
Yay! So they used Philly as the establishing shot for Seattle.
Makes sense. I mean, they're identical in every way.
Several key identifiable landmarks are visible in the shot.
That's pretty funny.
There is obviously nothing resembling a Space Needle to even vaguely pass it off as the intended location. So despite being bookended by scenes settled in Seattle, how many frames were actually shot in Seattle?
Beginning of the movie was in Seattle?
Despite being bookended by
Yeah,
scenes
so that
set
implies
in
that the
Seattle.
beginning of the movie was in Seattle.
Maybe.
That is dumb as shit. That was a desert that they shot in.
I know.
How many scenes were shot in Seattle? Zero.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not a single frame of the movie was actually shot there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very clear it wasn't. Love that.
Okay. Does the address where Hell's Canyon Outfitters is exist?
No. Yes. 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 No. Yes. Yes.
It does exist.
Yeah!
It does not exist. The address of Hell's Canyon Outfitters is detailed on the business card of Cole Hans Mason. Is 1 Fifth Avenue, Seattle. In real life, there is no such address, and the starting point of Fifth Ave is a section of monorail track. The phone number is apparently 206-555-2829. The actual location of this is an office building on Orondo Street in Wenatchee, Washington. So they reference their own location again.
You fooled me.
What short story was this film based on?
The Most Dangerous Game.
Yay!
I've been saying it the whole time.
Yes, you have been.
I am red.
This same year that this movie was released, what metal band that Ice-T produced
Even better.
recorded the song Surviving the Game?
That's going to be Rage Against the Machine.
No, but it does very much have to do with Survive Against the Game.
Rammstein.
The Ice-T's metal band, Body Count, recorded an unrelated song.
That is silly.
A band named Body Count released an
Silly.
unrelated song titled Surviving the Game, which appeared on their second album, Born Dead.
They had 2 whole albums.
They had 2 albums,
Silly.
and one of their songs was Surviving the Game.
That's ridiculous.
All right, so that's all the trivia I have. Go to random thoughts. I actually have a very interesting random thought that I want to talk with you about.
I can't wait to have a conversation about
So you brought up the Deadliest Game
I got
short story. Okay, go pee really quickly because this is important. I'm about to reveal some life stuff here. Okay, so all right, I want to talk about actually the short story that we talked about already, Deadliest Game.
The Most Dangerous Game.
The Most Dangerous Game. So, in 7th grade, we actually did not read this, but I had a essay prompt, a short story prompt in my class to write a story, and then it had to just obtain all these vocabulary words.
And you wrote The Most Dangerous Game verbatim.
No, but I pretty much wrote the
most
dangerous
dangerous game.
And I didn't even know it until
Well, it's a fascinating
now.
concept that eventually I think everyone thinks of.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
can you imagine
well,
the horror of something?
Except
right?
instead of having multiple people haunting one person, it was one person hunting multiple people.
Ooh, that's a little interesting. It's a little twist on it.
Yeah. But a journalist survived, and
Wrote about it, and that's where the
No.
story came from.
the SWAT came in, and he was woken up, and they were like, it was basically like Mason with the dude with the gun in his
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
It was basically like that. That was the ending. Like, you're fucked. Like, we caught you. You're dead.
But that's not 1v1 then.
No. But, well, she escaped and told the authorities. And the authorities came and served justice. That
But
was
it's
my
not justice,
7th grade
though.
version.
It's not justice, though.
No, not really.
It's a bad ending. That's also a very middle school mentality, I think. I remember
That
being in middle
justice gets
school.
served?
No. Who's getting served? The killer?
The killer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the person who got away is getting a gun in their face.
No. The journalist, it was a woman, if I remember correctly. She escaped, and it was like this island. Like, they were all brought to this island
Yeah.
for this rich man because they were all gonna like meet him
Dead.
and like do stuff.
Most
and
dangerous
then
game,
he
yeah.
just like kills everybody basically. And yeah, so she like escapes off the island, and then next thing you know, like he wakes up and there's just like everybody like
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you
fuck.
were saying the person who got away is then
no.
trapped by like police officers, and they're like, "Oh, we're also in on it."
Yeah, no. So that's what I want to say is that I had like a direct. I knew what this movie was gonna like. I knew the
Oh, yeah,
overarching
yeah.
part was that they were gonna shoot.
Because you
homeless
wrote it,
people. But yeah, pretty much. So I was like, oh,
and I had
that's
read
kind
it,
of cool.
so we both knew. I think they made a movie, The Most Dangerous Game.
It's
I think it
also
was, like,
called
old,
Hard
like-
Point.
Like black and white, like old. I think.
So, well, one other thing I want to talk about is one of the very first questions you asked at the beginning is why are there
Yeah.
so many '90s movies about like
I
I said wilderness horror. In
yeah,
my
you
thing,
wrote
but it was
wilderness
just kinda
horror, but
like-
it was like, why are there so many things where it's like humans dealing with other humans
in like
in nature, like out where no one can help them?
yes.
You know, I was thinking like Deliverance, thinking like this, thinking
You had
The-
Texas Chainsaw Massacre around this time too.
the first one.
Yeah, like the very first one.
There's one that I know it's something. There's this fucking movie, like I can't remember.
At
what
this
it
time,
is.
you had a lot of horror movies that were like in the middle of nowhere, like kids going off, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, and then they die. And I have a response to that, but I'm waiting for you to look up what you're looking up.
I know. I just got The Edge.
The Edge.
The Edge was in '97, so
Okay.
it still
all
fits.
around in the '90s era. So what I was gonna
Alec
say
Baldwin's
to that,
in The Edge. Shout out if you've seen The Edge.
so one thing I was gonna mention with this.
Go ahead, you can take it back.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna mention is that why.
Why are all these movies about like nature
Yeah,
and like
so-
fighting against nature and humans
So
at the same time?
I
basically.
recently watched like a YouTube video like on the philosophy of like why villains are the villains who they are like throughout the eras,
Sure.
and a lot of it has to do with the political era at the time or like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
what
yeah.
everybody's dealing with at the time.
It's
And-
art imitates life, but it makes it more colorful, basically.
Yeah. So like in the 70s, 80s, it was either stuff with the Vietnam War where like politicians were corrupt,
Apocalypse
or it
Now,
was like
or-
very
yeah.
black and white, like communism is evil, USA all the way kind of villains. It was like very black and white villainy.
I feel like that was a little more 80s.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
said like 70s, 80s, where like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
the Cold
yeah,
War, and but also Vietnam is
Yeah, I'm
coming
not
out.
trying to argue with you.
So my thought was with the 90s is that this was beginning, and you mentioned it a little bit before, somewhere during the movie, is like it's pre-internet boom, but also like kind of at the time where like people were starting to get more connected between each other, if that makes sense. Like cell phones were just coming like to be
it's like
a
Hook.
middle, like a not even really middle class, but kind of like a upper middle class sort of, like they're starting to trickle down to like become things that people had, like being able to communicate with people
Easier.
easily and transfer information was just kind of starting to become a thing. And I think like you had all these still rural areas, these super rural areas that had no connection with other human beings.
Are you saying these movies were kind of trying to point out a disconnect between urban and rural?
I think they're starting to, because remember like growing up and there was all these movies about like super cities and or like they would fantasize about like the 2000s and like how futuristic the 2000s
like
would be.
Evolver.
And how super connected people would be.
I can see that late 90s. But things were way different in the late 90s than early 90s.
Yeah, here I'm thinking that there's still super disconnect. Like at this point in the world, like you can go to the middle of nowhere and not be bothered by anybody. Like this is. And why I brought up like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all those other like
is because it's out in the
horrors,
middle of nowhere.
Because it's in the middle of nowhere. You have no cell phone reception.
Yeah.
Possible. There's no such thing, really. Like maybe one person at that time has a cell phone.
I didn't really have phones back then, though. I don't like
not mobile devices. There was no you couldn't go out and research your destination without going to like an encyclopedia.
Still
or
using
like a library.
paper maps.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
Yeah. So that's why I think like there was a lot of these movies of like the horror of like in the middle of nowhere, or like you could easily be kidnapped and nobody would know because there is no way to follow anybody. It's all like day to day, paper trail only sort of deal. And if you don't have any connection to the outside world, you don't have any connection to the outside world. That's it.
I don't necessarily agree with your interpretation of it, like from like the zeitgeist of it, you know?
Sure.
But you do also raise a point that I think might be worth mentioning, which is like that there's always these big like political cultural things going on that are encompassed within that movie because like it's totally enveloped in that. So you had like 60s, like you had like 40s, 50s were like big like B movie sci-fi stuff where it's like the alien prospects, and we have these ideas, more grand ideas, especially with rocketry, that it sort of extends into the 60s. And then 60s, late 60s, early 70s is like disco stuff where we get like Saturday Night Fever out of that, and like the birth of disco and a more
this
opening.
This is also where beginning as far as like pop culture of that time, that's when like comics started. We started to get birth of superheroes after the wars.
So that would, I think, might fit in with my late 60s, early 70s, like alternative lifestyles start getting a bit more thrown out into mainstream with that kind of stuff, because disco was a huge like boom for like the LGBT community anyway. And then you have like superhero stuff like that. 80s is...
You also had very ideal families propaganda.
Yes. Late 70s, early 80s also includes that, where it's very strong nuclear family against the
Communism
Soviets.
Yep.
Right? Like you have stuff like War Games, like movies like that.
Yeah.
And then you have the 90s.
A lot of espionage going on too at that time.
James Bond.
Yep.
And then you have 90s, no longer in a Cold War. Who are you going to turn against?
Yourself.
Your fellow compatriots, right?
Yep.
And where's the best place to fight that? It's not in the cities.
Rise a little bit. There's a bit of an economic rise.
So a bit of a class difference.
Yep.
A bit of disparity.
Absolutely.
So I think that might fit too, thematically.
Absolutely.
A fun thing to look at. Not something you expect. This might all get cut. So, who knows? I'll keep this one in. I think this one's actually interesting. I think we actually had some insight this time.
Yeah, and I really do think that that's an interesting topic as like as movies go in general. It's like maybe one thing we can do now is as we watch the movie, we take into reference when it was done and who the villain is and why the villain acts that way or why the antagonist acts that way. And here we can see that the antagonist acts that way.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
one,
possibly.
They can because
because they have power,
yeah.
like economically and
they could.
more like socioeconomically they have power over this
Yeah,
person,
and
right?
it was feasible. It was still very easily feasible. Like people nowadays.
Well, I
people
was
are-
saying it still. I was like, people are still probably doing this. I
Yeah,
feel like it's a
but I feel
realistic
like
horror.
people are more informed in that sense as to like not do.
I mean,
I think
human
yes and
trafficking
no.
isn't totally gone. You know, like
Yeah.
that's like I guarantee you something like some horrible shit like this is happening like right now.
Yeah,
But that's not the point.
So I had
really.
another question that I wrote down here. That was based on something you had talked about how like if you like made this movie, you would like just make it super stressful, but nothing would actually happen.
I think that's such an interesting idea for a thriller.
Yeah,
I think that's a really great idea, if just for a movie in general, just to like sort of trick your audience, and like just like really just trick your audience.
yeah,
I would love 90 minutes of that, where it's totally implied through everything that you release to the public, like through trailers and commercials.
it's supposed
Advertising.
to be like creepy. And
It's like, oh, this motherfucker's like, this guy's fucked, and watch him get fucked and like try to get out of it. And it's a whole movie where they keep saying like, oh, we just want you to be like, oh, we want you to be our hunting guide out in the wilderness.
yeah,
And nothing comes from it, and and everyone's totally genuine and honest, and it just ends with them flying back like, that was a good hunt, thanks for coming
Yeah.
with us. Credits roll. Like that's
Alright.
that's a movie.
So I had a messed up. This is a pretty messed up question, but this is how would you construct this game?
I feel like you wrote that down because I started talking about it too
I
much.
did, and also because I had already written about this game in 7th grade.
Yeah. I feel like I could go on about this. Oh, this is gonna sound bad.
For a while.
I feel like I could go on with this for a while because it takes a lot. There's a lot of factors that you have to consider, and every time you start thinking about it more, like more factors appear.
So maybe I'll try to extrapolate some data here really quickly. We can do this real fast.
Sure.
Yourself or company involved in the hunt?
What do you mean?
You're hunting a person
Right.
or people. But first we need to say who's involved. Are you the only hunter? Well,
Oh,
is
no,
there
no,
one
it would
hunter
be- it
or is
would-
there multiple hunters?
It's a group of hunters and
Group of
one
hunters,
and
okay.
one victim, right?
And one
That's
victim.
the easiest. That's like the safest, right?
Sure. 1 and 1. Or multiple and 1.
Yes.
Okay, I would say 1 and 1.
Okay.
I would
That's for
actually
you.
argue that would be the safest because there's no other witnesses.
Okay. I would argue like my group would be like people that like are equally as crazy, like in this movie. Like these people were all fucking nuts,
Yes,
right?
but you see
and they
what
keep
happens.
well, they keep doing it though. So it's like like they're all fucking nuts.
Yeah.
One guy just happened to have a turn because he was kidnapped and forced into that, and it was the first time they've done it. They said it in the movie? It's like, I've never seen this before. He's double back. So that strongly implies that they've been recruiting for their goals the right way. They're recruiting like people that easily panic and just run, and then they just shoot them. So,
Yeah.
and if you have more people, it's way easier to recruit someone that fits more into that
Yep. Okay.
bubble that works.
Second
for you.
question: location.
I guess if I'm just gonna like go out there like based on like knowing nothing, like northeastern Alaska.
That's great. I was actually going to say Canadian wilderness.
There you go. Okay, so,
So
similar ideas.
Similar
yeah.
ideas. Okay. Weapons / technology used.
I mean, if I'm playing that game, I know I said like, oh, just like be an adult about it and use like a bow and arrow. I'd totally be using guns. Like, I'm shitting on these people. Like, I don't think I'd use bikes and like ATVs, but I would definitely be using guns.
I would say the same. I would say you can still use a gun or and traps.
I wouldn't use traps. I think the whole point of it is also like you're kind of cheating anyway because they have no idea you're going there, so you might as well like scout out like a radius of an area and like know, and then sort of set things up in a way where they're pushed in a direction that makes it easier for you to hunt them. where they sort of fall into it.
Actually,
know?
I'm going to change my answer because I'm going to follow my essays guide because I thought it was smart. Island. Instead of Canadian wilderness, island.
Like South Pacific.
Large enough where there's an estate, but small enough where there's no other building. Like, you could own the island.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like, that's very much given if you're going to do an island, yeah.
Yep.
I see that, yeah.
Okay, so that's my thing. And also, I would say, that's why I said also traps, because if it's your island, you can set traps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no crimes being committed.
Well, no, not just that. I'm just saying, like, you know the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
you know the areas around, and you can, like, kind of, like, set up some trap locations. Like, you would, like, because people set up traps all the time.
For hunting, yes.
For hunting. So, yeah. So I'd say guns and traps. And you said guns, too.
Probably just do guns, and, like, my implication is being, like, in the wilderness out there, like, if someone gets away, I can just get back. I'm implying that I have a helicopter pilot, like a personal helicopter pilot.
Or your own helicopter.
If it's no, it's not mine. I have a pilot.
Sure.
Because if the pilot's just sitting in the helicopter the whole time, right?
Doesn't
and if he
matter.
sees the dude running back, he takes off. So the guy can't take the helicopter,
Sure.
and then he can radio to me like, "Oh, he's here," and then we shoot him. Or if he just runs away and we can't catch him, it takes him 1,000 miles to even get to anywhere that's civilized that has a road, even if there's anyone on the road. So he's
Fair.
dead. So it's like being on an island.
Sure.
Or, one day I might have the money to have my own murder island, Jeff. Who knows?
I think that's about it. Those are
For
kind
random
of
thoughts?
How would you do how would you do the game?
Oh,
The last
yeah.
real one that I have, all the other stuff we've either figured out, like, it's formaldehyde, flammable.
We talked about the inhaler.
Yeah. Is the death qualities. We're talking about quality deaths. Death quality. We have the dog with the car. We have the homeless man in his sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We have Gary Busey with the formaldehyde explosion.
Yes.
We have
Dr. Cox
Dr. Cox shot in the head. We have
Mission
Wall Street Jr.
No, Mission Man dies first.
Yes, Mission Jr. with ATV explosion.
Mm-hmm.
We have Wall Street Jr.
Falls off a log.
Wall Street Senior
Gets his neck broken or something.
Beaten to death.
And then Rutger Hauer blows himself up with a gun.
Yep.
Which is, so my judgment on quality deaths, I try to go towards interesting variety. And I think this movie did a pretty okay job.
Agreed.
So no complaints, really. I kind of liked it. I thought the
last one was cheesy.
I thought the Dr. Cox one was a little. They could have done something different. They could have just booted him off the cliff, but then that would have conflicted with the Wall Street Jr. kid falling to his death. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have been just depriving him of an inhaler would be so much different. It's something that you don't really see in a movie.
That one would have been. I think I like that ending better for him. Like, they got him all worked up. And then
like his
didn't give him an
friends got him all
inhaler.
worked
Yeah.
up. Okay.
And then they just left him to die.
That could have been good. That could have been better.
That would have been a better way for him to go because there was a whole
It could have just been him
trope.
It could have been him you're going to shoot me in the back, and he starts panicking, and they're like, no, we're not going to shoot you in the back. And he's panicking so much that he has an asthma attack,
Yeah.
and then they can't help him. That would have been good.
Or they just watch him have the asthma attack and die.
Yeah.
And
Well, they didn't have his
They
inhaler.
could have played the kid, Wall Street Jr. there, but and Dad just holds him back. Like, nope, he's gonna die. That's it.
Well, he already didn't have the inhaler, though.
I know.
So it could have been played as they're totally innocent anyway.
True. And then you would have a little bit oh, well, maybe they are good guys. No,
Not really, but,
no, but
yeah,
you would have had
slightly.
oh, they have some
You
some
sort
empathy.
of you sort of lean back where if you show them as being worried, it's oh no, fuck, we don't have your inhaler, what the fuck.
Yeah.
It could have been a little different, but still you still hate them.
Yeah.
So that one I think could have shifted it a little more in favor.
Yeah, I did not like Wall Street Jr.'s death. Although his death was innocent.
I was totally unsatisfied with that. I love the death, like falling from a log over a waterfall is rad as shit. But I was totally expecting something different from his character. Totally different.
Agreed. The only thing I'll say is that his death was innocent, like he was.
But it wasn't because Ice-T killed him.
No.
He hit him with the rock.
If we were to watch that again, I don't think he hit the kid with the rock. I'm pretty sure he was only throwing rocks at the
Rutger Hauer?
Yeah, and then the kid just got freaked out.
I could have sworn he got hit by a rock, but I'm not going to watch this movie again. So
No. Let's just say he was hit by a rock. It's still kind of a wimpy way, and
I mean, they were clearly establishing him as a bit wimpy, which is kind of... It's more of a 90s mentality anyway, what they were trying to do.
Kid's young and inexperienced.
The way he was screaming, right? Like, we made fun of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's not very masculine.
It's daddy's wealth.
Yeah, partially that. For sure that. It was just like... We're still in that mentality, because it was like the first reaction I had. He was like, Dad! I was like, huh.
Douche.
Kid's a little bitch.
Douche.
Kid's a bitch. It's like, I would yell the exact same way if I was in a hunting party and my dad was like, we're going to murder a man.
Yeah, and be like,
for fun.
No. So, all the other deaths I thought were pretty good.
They were good because there was a variety.
What's your
to them.
favorite death?
God, if he had died immediately, my favorite would have been the ATV where he blows up because the wire's in the gas tank. If you had just not even seen him and it was just like a ball of flame and he was totally evaporated by it,
Yeah.
that would have been the best one. But because he wasn't, I'm gonna have to give it to Rutger Hauer turning into a cloud of dust.
I would say Gary Busey's one.
I didn't like Gary Busey's one. I didn't care for it.
No?
No, I just didn't like it. It was too early, and what also upset me about it was like he could have easily not died and could have ended the movie by just using his knife and stabbing the man.
I do agree with that, but I did like the fight scene, and I thought that throwing him into the window at the same time as formaldehyde explodes is pretty cool.
He clearly wasn't doing that on purpose, though.
No.
But, yeah.
But he at least died in an explosion.
Mission Man died in an explosion, technically. He went into shock.
He
You're as good as dead at that point.
Nah. He just had his legs blown off.
Nah, fuck it. Nah.
I think... And that's all I really have for random thoughts.
Do I have random thoughts? I did have... The Edge was the one where it's like, oh, we're watching some survival movie. Can I just read a synopsis for The Edge just to show how close I was?
Let's do it.
Wasn't really...
While you're looking up that synopsis, there's a critic that I read about this movie who wrote, like, Gary Busey thought he was going to get, like, Gary Busey super overacted in this movie because he thought he was going to get... Genuinely thought he was going to get,
like an Academy Award?
Yeah.
I liked that monologue, though.
He did really good.
Oh, you have to look up when Gary Busey got in that car accident.
Okay, last thing.
Or motorcycle accident. Here's the synopsis for The Edge, which I thought this movie was going to be, because it involves a bunch of people in the wilderness trying to survive. The plane carrying wealthy Charlie Morse, played by Anthony Hopkins, crashes down in the Alaskan wilderness, together with the two passengers, photographer Robert Greene, played by Alec Baldwin, and assistant Stephen. Charles devises a plan to help them reach civilization. However, his biggest obstacle might not be the elements or even the Kodiak bear stalking them. It could be Robert, whom Charles has reason to believe is having an affair with his wife and would not mind seeing him dead. That's an interesting plot for a movie.
Okay, did Gary Busey's accident happen before or after the movie? This movie.
What do you mean his accent?
Did the accident happen before or after?
I think the accident happened after.
It happened in 1988.
Wow. Well, he did a fantastic job then, considering all the brain damage.
On December 4th, 1988. Busey was severely injured in a motorcycle accident in which he was not wearing a helmet. His skull was fractured, and doctors feared he suffered permanent brain damage.
He absolutely did. But
But
it
he
does
nailed
not
that
show. It
performance.
does not show in that. That was
Absolutely
that
nailed
was
that
fantastic. That monologue was extremely fascinating just because of how horrifying it was, right? Like just not necessarily how impactful his delivery was, even though that helped, but like just the idea that someone could be talking like this and like
Totally normal about it.
I totally believe that like he was fine with his dad doing that to him the way like he delivered it. It was really scary.
Absolutely.
So that was a good job.
Yeah.
Like that was probably the best part of the movie, was the Gary Busey part, and then they killed him off immediately.
I thought he was going to be one of the last ones alive.
I thought Dr. Cox was going to be the first to go because he was covered his whole face and he had sunglasses on at the start when you first see him.
Yeah.
He's got like the trench coat. He's got like the duster and the cowboy hat and like a bandana and sunglasses. Can't see him. I was like, that guy's going to die. And then they showed him in the dinner scene and I was like, what the fuck is he doing in here? Like, I recognize you. Yeah, it's odd.
That's all I have for random thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I'll settle on that.
So now it's time for recommendations.
Yeah.
Final part of our show here. Alex, would you recommend this movie?
You gotta sing it. You know you gotta sing it.
Now it's time for recommendations. It's time to recommend this movie. Let's get your recommendations out. Write it down on a piece of paper. Time to recommend this movie. Throw it into the recommend hat. We'll find out if this movie is recommended or fuck this shit.
I have a couple questions for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
What hat?
It's like the voting hat.
The voting hat.
Like you write down your vote, put it in a hat, then somebody reads out all the votes to tally it up, and then that's the vote.
So that all the votes are anonymous.
Yeah.
Do you want to do anonymous votes?
No, that's just what came to me while I was singing.
That's fine. You sounded really nice.
Thank you. So, Alex, would you recommend this movie, Survive the Game?
The problem with like long silent pauses for a podcast is you can't see the facial expressions, so it just sounds like everyone forgot what to do, and it doesn't sound as funny. If you have like a video of just, like you saying that, and then I just like pick up my beer and I go,
Go.
then that's funny. But if you just have a long pause with dead silence, it's not funny. Anyway, you want to ask that question again?
Yeah. Alex, would you recommend this movie, Survive the Game, by Eric Dickerson? Ernest Dickerson. Would you recommend this movie to watch?
That's a great question. Yeah, sure.
Great.
It was all right.
Great.
It was fun.
Great.
The kills were decent.
Mm-hmm. You seem pretty engaged.
Yeah, definitely.
latter half.
Yeah, watch it with like a friend because the first 20 minutes and the last 5 minutes kind of suck. But other than that, it's yeah, watch it. Watch it when they're in the forest. It's pretty fun. That's all.
Sure.
Jeff, sorry, I forgot.
Yes, Alex? You have something to ask me?
Jeffrey,
Senor Jefe.
would you watch or recommend or whatever this is? Would you recommend Surviving the Game, made in 1994, directed by Ernest Dickerson, starring Ice-T and Rutger Hauer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And yeah, I thought for the most part everybody did a great job. Ice-T did well in one of his earlier acting roles, with all the gear on that he had to have.
He did growl a lot.
He wasn't like he was in Law and Order, which I appreciate. So I thought he did better acting job than he does nowadays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say I would recommend this movie. Yeah, the first bit is a little slow, but the action and the fact that it is actually on a real area, real location is kind of It keeps you in the moment. So, yeah, I would recommend this movie. It was fun. There are some fun deaths. There's a little bit of Deus Ex Machina, but it's not. It's a bad good movie.
It was fine.
It's a bad good movie. Yeah,
It was fine.
So this has been the ABCs of Bad Movies with Alex and Hefe, and we will see you for the letter T.
Oh, it's my turn.
Looking forward to it.
It's famous. It's a famous bad movie. They've made a documentary about it.
Tsunami?
So. Yep, that's it.
Tsunami of the Carps.
If you know about bad movies, then you know when I say they made a documentary about it. It's you know what it is.
Okay, that's enough hinting. Bye!
Bye.